Sonny in Pentonville, and the deal nobody saw coming. Let us start with Sonny's prison visit, because the dynamic between these two men, in that specific setting with what Sonny is apparently going to propose, is one of those moments that demonstrates exactly why General Hospital at its best is unlike anything else on television. Here is what makes this visit extraordinary before a single word is spoken. Sonny put Jens in prison. That is the simple and fundamental fact underneath everything else. Whatever the various legal machinations were, whatever the specific chain of events that led to Jens' arrest and conviction and current residency in Pentonville, Sonny is the reason Jens is wearing beige. And Sonny knows this. Jens knows this. The visitor area of a prison is not a space that either of these men would typically choose for a casual conversation. And yet there is Sonny, walking through the door, making a comment about beige not being Jens' color, which is the specific kind of casually pointed humor that Sonny deploys when he wants to signal that he is in control of the situation while also acknowledging that the situation is absurd. Jens receiving this by noting he is not shocked to see Sonny, which is the response of a man who expected this visit even if he did not know when it was coming. The pleasantries between two people who have been at war are always the most loaded part of any conversation they have. These two are not friends. There is no warmth being performed here. What is being performed is the specific ritual of two powerful people who have operated on opposite sides of the same world acknowledging each other's existence before getting to whatever it is that actually brought one of them to the other's location. So what does Sonny want? The exit from the mob that Sonny has announced requires infrastructure. He needs legitimate businesses. He needs the peers back. He needs the kind of assets that can be converted into the foundation of a genuinely clean operation, something that is not mob money laundered through something legal but something that is simply legal. Sidwell's holdings, which are going up for auction, represent exactly that kind of opportunity. But the auction is contested. Drew wants pieces of it. Valentine wants pieces of it. Sonny is not guaranteed to win what he is after simply by showing up and bidding. What Sonny might be able to offer Jens is something that the auction cannot provide, and that money alone cannot buy inside those walls. Sonny has contacts. He noted this himself, and Justine confirmed it when she acknowledged that Sonny's reach extends into the prison environment. Life in Pentonville is not uniformly terrible for everyone inside. There are people who are protected and people who are not, and the difference between those two categories is often about who is making decisions on the outside about what happens on the inside. Jens is currently in the same prison as Curtis. Curtis, who is connected to Jordan, who Jens swore revenge on. The environment that Jens is in right now is not one where he has established himself as untouchable yet. That takes time and resources and the right connections, and Jens' resources and connections are all in the process of being dismantled from the outside. Sonny's offer may be exactly what the spoilers describe. Protection inside those walls, the specific kind of untouchability that comes from having Sonny's network, making certain that Jens is not at risk from the various threats that prison environments contain, in exchange for Jens giving Sonny the inside information he needs to navigate the asset auction strategically. What needs to be acquired, what should be avoided, what the company's real value is versus its stated value, where the leverage points are that the auction process does not make visible. Jens has no reason to help Sonny. The spoilers acknowledge this directly. There is no love lost, and the idea of these two coming to any agreement is described as miraculous. But the calculation inside prison is different from the calculation outside it. Outside, Jens had everything. Inside, Jens has nothing except the potential threat he represents to the people he blames for his situation. If Sonny can offer something that makes life inside more bearable and more protected, the question of whether to take it becomes more complicated than pure hatred would suggest. Whether this deal gets made and what it costs both of them if it does is the question the week is going to answer. But the image of Sonny and Jens in that visitor area, having a conversation that should not be happening between people who should be permanent enemies, that image is extraordinary. Michael at the boathouse and the story he is not buying. Now let us talk about the scene at the Coeur d'Alene boathouse, because the photograph from Soap Opera Digest that captures Michael, Jocelyn, and Hudson in the same frame is doing everything a preview image should do, telling you exactly what you need to know about the emotional dynamic without a word of dialogue. Michael has his arms crossed tightly across his chest. His face is doing the specific thing Michael's face does when he is being told something he is not buying. Jocelyn does not look comfortable either. And Hudson, who has been operating in Port Charles for weeks with a carefully managed presentation of himself as a straightforward corporate representative, is in the middle of a conversation that is going the wrong way from his perspective. Here is how the day is arranged. On the same day that Carly calls Hudson to her house and tries to recruit him to help push Jocelyn out of the WSB, directly contradicting what she told Jocelyn earlier about having nothing to do with the CEO plan, Michael and Jocelyn are at the boathouse having their own conversation with Hudson. The double simultaneity of Carly operating on one front while her children are operating on a completely different front is the kind of dramatic irony that this show stages with real craft. Jocelyn went to Michael because she needed help evaluating the CEO candidate situation. She did not want to be the one making this decision alone, and Michael has a specific and documented intelligence about how organizations work, about what makes someone right for a leadership role, about what makes a situation legitimate versus suspicious. She wanted his read. She also asked him to help her evaluate the candidates that Hudson was supposed to be compiling. Michael came to the meeting with his own questions already formed. Because Michael, who has been watching everything connected to the Drew Willowora situation all summer, with the specific attention of someone who has learned that things that do not add up usually do not add up for a reason, has been paying attention to the Jasper Jacks Enterprises situation as well. And the specific thing about it that does not add up is the same thing that has been bothering Brennan, and that has made Carly's casual certainty about having spoken to her ex-husband look shaky in retrospect. Nobody can reach the man directly. That is the sticking point. Every piece of documentation Hudson carries is present and appears legitimate. But the person who supposedly generated all of this documentation and made all of these decisions has not been independently verifiable as reachable since Hudson arrived in Port Charles with his offer. Michael, standing in that boathouse with his arms crossed and his face communicating professional skepticism, is the person asking the question out loud that has been sitting unasked for too long.
Something is off about this story.
The specific details do not fit together in the way that legitimate stories fit together. And Hudson, who has been very good at presenting a surface that satisfies casual inspection, is now in front of two people who are not conducting a casual inspection. Jocelyn confirmed that she had asked Hudson to send her a list of CEO candidates and wanted Michael's input on them. That process, the professional evaluation of replacement candidates, is the reasonable and logical response to not wanting the job but understanding that the company apparently needs someone. It is also, inadvertently, the process that puts Michael and Hudson in the same room together. And Michael in the same room as Hudson, with Michael in the specific mood his body language is communicating in that photograph, is going to produce a very different kind of conversation than Hudson has been having with everyone else. The Carly angle adds another layer. She told Jocelyn she had nothing to do with the CEO plan. She called Hudson to her house the same day to push him to try again to convince Jocelyn to take it. If Jocelyn ever finds out about that specific contradiction, and in Port Charles, people always find out, the question of whether to trust what her mother tells her about this entire situation is going to be answered in the least comfortable possible direction. The Jacks mystery crystallizes and the questions get louder. And finally, let us look at the full picture of what the week is revealing about Jocelyn's father's situation, because the details that have been accumulating across the past few weeks are starting to point in a direction that is considerably more alarming than a wealthy man's voluntary sabbatical. Carly admitted something specific during a conversation earlier in the week that deserves to be highlighted. She acknowledged that Jocelyn's father knew Jocelyn was in the WSB and was not happy about it. That is a detail. A real one. If a father genuinely knew his daughter was working for an intelligence organization and was not happy about that, the idea that he would immediately follow that concern by appointing her as CEO of his multinational company, a role that would require her to completely abandon the intelligence career he was unhappy about, raises questions. Not impossible to explain, but worth explaining. Carly also denied any knowledge of a sailing trip. She denied having cooked up the CEO plan with her ex-husband as a way to pull Jocelyn out of the WSB. She denied it confidently. And then she called Hudson to her house the same day to do exactly what she claimed she was not doing. Carly's behavior alone does not prove anything alarming about the father's situation. It proves something about Carly's own agenda around Jocelyn's career choice. But it adds to the picture of a situation where the details keep not quite fitting.